Professora Tammy Griego, visiting us from New Mexico, 505.
The 505.
Black
that's right.
belt, world champ. You even fought MMA one time, right?
I did a fight. Yes.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about that. But yeah, so somebody that's dedicated their life to jiu-jitsu. You've been a black belt for now how many years?
12 since 2012.
2012.
So like 12 years.
12 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Can't even
But
remember.
you've traveled all over the world competing and yeah,
Yeah, man. All jiu-jitsu.
competing, dedicating yourself to excellence. And yeah, man, I'm really proud of you. Yeah, and the work you've done.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. I mean, you were the first person I ever did jiu-jitsu with, so it's cool to see everything you've done here, and it's like the leader on the path kind of thing, Very positive steps to follow.
You're originally from Espanola?
Yep. Born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
Moved out to Albuquerque after high school. And then did a little work.
Talk into the microphone.
Oh, yeah, huh? Did a little work and then found jiu-jitsu at like 26. And
okay.
All jiu-jitsu ever since.
Was Bill Beam, he was the person that introduced you first time to jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, that was kind of cool. One of your students was doing jiu-jitsu while I was doing a ride-along when I was in college. And so that's how I got introduced to jiu-jitsu. And then, I don't know, 10 years later, here I am finding you in Albuquerque. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Small world,
Yeah. Bill Beam was a paramedic.
Yeah.
So he trained with me because I came back from Brazil and I was just trying to, I'd gone down to Brazil for the first time and I came back and just to keep my training up, right? I made like a little club. When Joaquin Sanchez was trying to open up a brewery, so he's like, hey, I have a space, and so we threw down some mats, right?
Yeah.
And started training. And Bill Beam would come down from Espanola. He was a paramedic, and he would use jiu-jitsu, so we wouldn't have to hurt people to control them, right? And because he was a paramedic in Espanola, which is a crazy place, right?
Yeah. So they say. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I heard some crazy stats too, just on addiction and just those kinds of things. Beautiful place. Okay, but yeah, it's a lot of things, a lot of crazy things happen there. Little Spania.
Right, Spania.
Like, how many minutes is it from Santa Fe? About 30 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, about half an hour. Not too far. My grandmother did a good job, though. She kept me off the streets, kept me at home, so I never found any of the trouble.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then you moved to Albuquerque after high school?
Mm-hmm. Did a little college, realized it wasn't for me. Went and did trade school, got a good job.
What kind of job did you get?
Like electrical work. It was low voltage.
I remember that. Remember that.
Yeah, I was doing that, getting paid well, but I didn't.
You weren't passionate about it.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any fire in life. It's go work, drink with your buddies, go work, drink with your buddies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started looking for something and tried jiu-jitsu, and it was over from day one.
Yeah, I remember you worked and then you rearranged your schedule so you could train at all the class times.
Yeah, I was trying to get as much training as I could.
And you would drive even up to Santa Fe to train jiu-jitsu there sometimes.
I got a couple of classes in there, yeah, in the beginning days. I did mostly, like, Albuquerque, because even when we were working out of town, I'd pack my gi and I'd get dropped off, I got to go to practice, trying to find a way to get rid of the daytime job just so I could do jiu-jitsu all the time. Eventually, we got there.
What are some of the places that jiu-jitsu has taken you?
Oh, man, all over.
Talk to us.
Man.
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I got to fight in Abu Dhabi a whole bunch of times. I did the Abu Dhabi Pro when it first started. I took like 3rd overall. And so that was kind of a really cool season. I got to compete in Brazil, London, Tokyo, and then Abu Dhabi for that season. Oh, and LA. So I
Cover your face. Sorry.
I was taken first or second at all of those tournaments, and then I went to the Worlds. And there was one athlete that was there that like bested me every tournament. So she took first, and I ended up taking
Gabi Garcia. You've had how many matches with her?
Oh man, a bunch, like a dozen, I'd say.
Yeah, you're probably the person that's competed with her the most in the history of her career.
I would say the only time she used to tap everybody from like side control Americana, and she only submitted me once, and I had like broken my collarbone like in 2012 right before Abu Dhabi the World Pro, and it was like 2 weeks before the tournament. I broke my collarbone. I was like, but I went anyway, you know. And then she went to try and choke me. She put her hand underneath my shoulder and just started pressing down, and I tapped. Oh man, that's like the pain.
That doesn't count.
I mean, I count it, but there was extenuating circumstances. I mean.
So CGI Craig Jones Invitational, he's gonna be doing a super fight against Gabi Garcia. Who do you got? Craig Jones or Gabi Garcia?
Well, I have no experience with Mr. Craig Jones. I know how tough Gabi is. I'd like to see her win. You know, why not?
What do you think?
I'm putting my money on Gabi.
On Gabi?
Yeah, why not? Why not, man? Why not?
Because she's older now too, right?
Yeah.
How old is she?
Well, I mean, she's younger than I am.
Okay.
So I'm 44. I'm still out there.
Okay.
I just turned 44 a couple weeks ago, or a week ago. I don't know. A while back. Don't keep time well.
Yeah.
So she was younger than me, I'm pretty sure. So she's got a chance.
Yeah. Cool. Hell yeah. You're right here for the USA Grappling World Trials, right?
They got the trials for the World's team. So this year it's in Kazakhstan. Last year I got to go. We went to Poland.
Cool.
Took second and third.
Cool.
Took third in the gi. No gi. And then second in the gi.
Okay, they have gi and no gi.
Yeah.
What's the rule set for the grappling? Is it under FILA?
Yeah, it's under the USA Wrestling Organization. They got the USA Grappling, which reminds me I got to finish my membership. But anyways, I digress. I like the rule set. It's a lot different than like IBJJF. You got a 10-minute match. There's so much stalling.
There's so much
in IBJJF.
Right.
You know, with 10
there's
minutes.
a lot of stalling. Yeah.
It's for the USA Grappling. It's a 5-minute round. If you wrestle out of the circle, you get a point, or unless they push you out, and then you lose a point. If you pull guard, or maybe you try a takedown and you end up on the bottom, you lose 2 points. If
you pull guard.
Yeah. So it's kind of like ADCC, where you're penalized for pulling guard. They're really active on the passivity calls, which is like stalling.
Yeah.
And so you'll get penalized. Like, say you can't pass a person's guard, you're going to get called for stalling. You're going to lose points. If you're a mount and you can't sub them or transition to a different position, you're going to get called for stalling. So that's kind of cool. You know, it keeps the action going. If you lose top position from wherever you're at, like say I'm in mount and I end up on the bottom, or if I'm on the back and I end up on the bottom, I lose 2 points. You know, it's almost like a sweep.
Yeah.
So I really like the rule set. It's pretty cool. Really does support like a more dominant fighter that has good control of the fight, and it keeps the action moving. So
yeah, because you can be dominating a match and still lose, right?
Yeah.
The way the points are.
So like this, you want to really be in control.
It's interesting, right? Because the IBJJF, like their goal is not to be an Olympic sport, right, as an organization, but their goal is to make it realistic to a fight, right? That's the roots. That's what they say on the, do their courses and stuff. And that, that was back in the day. That's how it was, that you did jiu-jitsu, like it was realistic in a fight. But the way the points are, sometimes it doesn't kind of portray that.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there. Like, you don't really get, I mean, it's good to play the bottom game.
Right, of course.
You know, because you're going to be neutralizing your attacker and stuff. But it doesn't encourage, like, the get up. You know, it doesn't encourage a person to really wrestle up. When they changed the rule where you couldn't turtle or else you're going to lose an advantage, right? Say you're defending guard.
Right.
and then you start
in IBJJF.
in IBJJFs, and then you start trying to like turtle up, maybe wrestle up or prevent the guard pass.
They give the other person an advantage.
They started giving the other guy an advantage, which encourages the guy to stay on the ground. When I started training over at Jackson's, it's like all these MMA fighters, nobody wants to stay on the ground.
Right,
That's
right.
more realistic.
Right, exactly.
So I
Like
could
the
see
get
where-
up, is it's lack of control if you let the person get up, and yeah, it changes the fight, right? It could change the fight.
Yeah, so I like the USA grappling rules, you know. Spent a lot of time learning how to wrestle up and grapple up, and every time I ended up down on the ground, finding my way back up, I feel like they kind of match those, hey, this is a fight kind of thing. I don't mind staying down on the ground, but if somebody's just going to be kicking me or whatever, you know.
Can you do all the leg locks?
I
Are there any?
I think heel hooks are not allowed. Like, I'm allowed to reap, but I'm not allowed to heel hook.
What about reverse heel hooks?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I got. You've given me two things that I have to do after this interview.
Okay.
I
Find
have
out the rules.
I have to refresh the rules. Yeah, I haven't really. I had
Because
'em-
they change sometimes. They change every so often, right?
Yeah, well, I think they're pretty solid this year.
Okay.
I didn't see any changes. Like, I didn't hear any changes. But it's always good to refresh, you know. Like, if I ever have an athlete that wants to compete, I tell them the first thing you need to do is make sure you know your rule set, you know, because that's where you're going to win or lose the fight if it's close. Is in the rule set.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you make the national team, they pay for all your travel and everything there? Put you
Yeah.
up, the stay, hotel, and everything?
Yeah, they take care of the first place finishers. Last season, I took second,
Okay.
so I had to pay my own way.
Oh, wow.
So it was a little pricey. But, you know, I got to be on the team. You know, it was really beneficial for me, you know, being 43. You know, I did a lot when I was younger, and then I stepped away to start the school and let life, you know, kind of take me off path of what I really love to do, which was compete, and I was really good at it. And so I got focused again. It gave me a reason to get focused, and so I got to go out there and fight in international competition and still make it to the finals. So that was really good for me on a personal level. But if you take first, I think the organization is still working on funding. You know, there's a handful of people that are supporting the cause. They really want to see this be an Olympic sport and like the next Olympics. So you've got patrons of the art, kind of. So if anybody's interested in funding the USA grappling team,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure they could use the support.
Did you ever do ADCC?
I did. I took third. I got Gabby in the first round in China, and then I had to fight my way back. Fucking Gabby. Oh, I'm sorry. I should.
Yeah, that's okay.
I have a lot of second and third place medals.
Yeah, it
because of Gabby.
was always her. Yeah, it was always her.
Gabby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your one of your best moves was like half guard from bottom, right?
Yeah, I played a lot of half
Deep
guard.
half.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have to give myself a pat on the back because I showed you that, okay?
Definitely started that learning path. I love the crucifix.
Oh, okay.
The crucifix game. I got that from you too. You know, it started that path. I got a lot of details over the years that I've added onto it to
For
make
sure.
it almost unstoppable. No. But yeah, I mean, it was the foundation of things. The
Yeah.
start. I didn't know anything, you know, so it was just the groundwork, and then you start building on those. You know.
Yeah, you have that foot lock from half guard. Yeah, from half guard as well. That you can get anybody in.
Just about.
Yeah,
Just
some
about.
black belts today, and not have to name names, but yeah, it's just like what? Like tough guys. I remember like one of the guys. He was a IBJJF brown belt world champ, and you caught him in the thing, and you couldn't believe it.
They were like, "What is
They
this?"
don't want to tap, right? Because but it'll break the foot.
Yeah. I remember like coming up, the guys, the Brazilian coaches,
How did you come up with that?
just getting beat up all the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I have one where they're on my back, and so I was able to catch the professors with that pretty regularly until they stopped taking my back. They'd get my back, but they wouldn't put the hooks in anymore. And so then I started playing half guard, and because I was doing it so much, people were getting better at defending it. So I was stuck on the bottom more. So it was just something that I was able to find to help me get them to let go of me, if nothing else, you know. It's defendable, but generally speaking, when you're like in pain or in the moment, you're holding on tighter. You're not letting go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the professors, they'd have all their Brazilian friends, these big old macho dudes come in, and it'd be like lunch practice, and they'll be like, watch out, watch your foot. And they'd tell them, you know, it's like, don't tell them my secrets. I'm like a blue belt and a purple belt, and these guys are black belts.
Yeah, I've seen you do it many times. Today I saw you do it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I have a few little moves that are mine, you know, and they just come from necessity.
Why didn't Gabby Garcia ever fall to it? Damn it.
Oh, shucks. Right? Right. I think maybe it came out. No, I don't know. Why did I never catch Gabby in it? Maybe she was just too good at defending it. Because it's defendable.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
If you take, 5 minutes with an educated mind,
you almost beat her one of the times.
Yeah, there was one time, it was like a pans, maybe I was a brown belt or a new black belt or somebody, and I saw her taking everybody down with the same takedown, and so when she tried it on me, I just grabbed her leg, and they gave me 2 points. We went out of bounds, so she didn't get the reversal points, and then I was in turtle for like 8 minutes of the match, and that's how I messed up. It was a mistake on my part. I mean, give it to Gabby, you know.
Yeah.
She won it at the end in the last 2 minutes, but I was like in her guard, and I was winning, and she went to come up, and I like turtled back up because I'd spent so much of the fight in the turtle position. If I would have just stood back up and wrestled, then I could have probably or maybe fought her off for another 2 minutes and won. What?
How strong is she?
Oh, bro. If she grabs your arm, it's hers, you know. I got really good at defending, like, I was always, because she was always just Americaning everybody, you know. So I got really good at, like, having to double protect my arms. I couldn't just leave them out. I always had to reinforce my arms so she wouldn't get them, because I was like, I might not be able to beat her, but I don't want her to beat me either.
Yeah.
If this fight lasted long enough, I would be able to beat her.
So what advice do you have for Craig Jones?
Oh, man, advice for Craig Jones. How do you beat Gabby Garcia? Get the takedown. Get the takedown. Be on top. Put her on her back. Yeah. She doesn't have a lot of experience down there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, she's better on top.
Yeah. So I would say that would be the start. I don't know. I made a joke to her once about us running it back, you know, because I've been doing this other tournament. She's like, let's do it.
The USA Grappling?
Well, I mean, not to run it back there, but because I've been doing this, I've been doing a lot more wrestling. Like, my game's changed a whole bunch.
Yeah.
I was visiting with a friend in Vegas. He owns Odin's Halls. I've known him forever.
Vegas, Nevada?
Yeah. His name's Steve, and I have met him through jiu-jitsu, going to some tournament that I didn't have money for, you know, and he's just a jiu-jitsu guy out in New York, so I'm, like, crashing on his couch. He's taking me over to Marcelo Garcia's where he was training, and we've been friends for, 15 years just because of it.
Yeah.
But what was I talking about? Yeah. So
wrestling, you've been wrestling.
Right, and so he has a lot of the half-guard game that I've been showing him through the years, and he likes it, and he plays it. And so last night he's all, so how much half guard you been playing? I was like, none. Like, I've completely had to change my game for this new organization. Every match that I lost last season was because I was just too comfortable with, like, sacrifice throws that didn't work, you know, because I'm so cool with just being in half guard. And then I couldn't get up, and that was the end of the fight. And so I'd lose. And so it's been a lot different now, practicing a lot of wrestling and wrestling up and not accepting the bottom position. And so who knows, maybe we'd have a different match. Maybe that's one for the future.
Maybe in the master divisions.
Yeah, right.
If she comes back.
Yeah, maybe.
If she's not make too much money at CGI.
Right, why even fight? I don't know. I don't make any money, and I fight all the time.
Yeah, it's not about that.
So maybe. I don't know.
Man, what a journey, Tammy. I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. I always tell you that, but
yeah, it's been very
somebody from, just underdog, like, we think, but you just worked so hard for so many years. Everybody kind of, like, maybe didn't think you were going to do anything or counted you out. They still count you out, I think. But there's, like, a voice inside of you, like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I started, I was like 280, you know, some immature young lady, fat as can be, you know, unathletic. Oh man, watch me play any other sport. It's horrible. And yeah, I just got it in my head. I think what it was that tournament that we went to in Las Vegas. We chartered that bus,
Oh yeah.
and I had to
I
fight.
chartered a Greyhound bus. All right, Kevin, appreciate this. How many people were on that bus?
Oh, there had to have been like 30 of us, maybe.
30, 40 people, yeah.
It was a good chunk of the team.
Yeah, yeah. And then we went to Vegas on a charter bus. And how fun was that?
That was cool. It was my first. Well, it wasn't my first tournament. So it was my second tournament. It was supposed to be.
I have pictures of that actually.
Oh yeah, nice.
Uh-huh.
It was supposed to be my first tournament, but because the whole team was going, I didn't want to like embarrass myself.
Yeah.
So I invited my pregnant cousin to go with me to Colorado to do a tournament like 2 weeks before, just to see what it was like.
Mm-hmm.
And so I lost, but I thought I did pretty all right,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so that gave me the courage to go and not be afraid. And then Ray,
Ray,
he
yeah.
helped you charter the bus.
Mm-hmm.
We're all at the tournament, and he's teasing me because Lana Stefanik walks by. And I'm like a white belt, and she's like a purple belt. She's like Gabby's size,
Right.
bodybuilder lady. And Ray's like, hey, you're going to have to fight her tomorrow, watch. It's like, shut up. So I signed up for my beginners division, and then the next day they're calling me to the organizers table, and they're like, hey, so we don't have any competitors for you, but you can move up if you want. I'm like, oh, okay. And sure enough, I had to fight all these ladies, and Lana was in the division. And so I fought her in the finals, and I was like, I put her in the crucifix, but instead of rolling forward and using the momentum to help me like separate her arm from her body, I pulled her back on top of me, and I had her arm out, but then she just went, she just curled me right back in. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she didn't submit me, you know, and she just won by points. And that was kind of the moment where I was like, man, I can do this. I had that person in a submission. If I would have done it a little bit differently, if I would have had as much time as her in that position, like she's a purple belt. And so that was one of the moments. It's just a bunch of little moments like that. Just kind of, you know, you take the positive from it. Yeah. When I first came in, it was like, oh, I want to lose weight. But I've always wanted to be like good at something. Anything I try to do, I'd like to be good at.
I think we all need that, right?
I mean, if you don't, like, why are you doing it? At least in my head, I don't know. You don't want to talk about it, you know, because I'm unathletic, 280 pounds, coming into this fight sport with all guys. But as the years go by,
yeah, back in those days, how many girls were in our school?
Sarah,
yeah, Sarah Boyd or Sarah. What's her last name? Forgot. Dulce.
Yeah,
no. Yeah, she changed her last name. Moya. Sarah Moya. I so many years I said it was Sarah Boyd.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to change it.
Right, same.
I took her to Japan to fight and
That's
MMA, and we competed all over the country. She never went to Brazil with me. CJ did.
Oh yeah, CJ.
Yeah, we had a couple black belts. It was very rare. Like, they would have been the first 12, right, of female American black belts if I hadn't moved in 2007.
Seven, I believe, yeah. Because I started in 6, got you for about 8 months, and then Tusa came around with Rafael and Dawn. So, yeah, man. It was cool to have, you know, Sarah. Sarah is one. It's all just a bunch of small little stories. I was driving to a job site. And
shout out to Sarah Moya. Sarah's story? Yeah. She's my right hand and left hand person at that Albuquerque gym when we opened up. Yeah,
for sure. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been around. I stopped in and watched an open mat, and then Marcos Gallegos, kindest kid, man, so cool. And he's like, you can jump in. I'm like, you know, I gotta go to a job, but that's cool.
You just came to watch?
Yeah, I stopped. I was driving by, and I'd seen a school. You know, I was already wanting to do jiu-jitsu. Like, I stopped at the old Fit place, and it was this big
Fit
old
NHB.
Yeah, it was this big old like warehouse building right next to my house, kind of. And I literally got to the door, put my hand on the door, and didn't even try to open it to see if it was open. I just went right back to my car. Didn't even walk in, you know. And so that day I was driving by, and I'd seen the school. I was like, I'm going to go check this out. Looks like there's people in here. And I just sat and watched open mat. And then Marcos signed me up for an intro lesson. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then I went. I wasn't going to go to that intro lesson, you know. I don't know what it was. And Sarah called me. I was like, oh, okay.
Was a female too.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I'll go. And then she got me in, you know.
So interesting you say that, because we always talk with the, like the team, just how important it is to, somebody comes in, it's scary, right? Like starting jiu-jitsu, starting martial art, just the environment, right? Especially like what can happen, you can get beat up, right?
Right.
And so like when somebody comes in, like I jump up if I see somebody walking in or they're close to the door, I jump up and walk across the room, quickly, hey, how's it going, yada yada, and then get them with the right people. But yeah, just so important to really hold somebody's hand to get them to come in and talk to them the right way too, right? To try it and do it, give the best experience we can give. And look at you. If that wouldn't have happened, we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Lord only knows where I'd be. Yeah, man. Just a simple hello or a simple phone call, can change somebody's life completely. So it is important, to understand what it's like to be a beginner. I don't know. I forget a lot just because it's my home now, The gym is where I'm most comfortable. So maybe I'm a little more authentic, and I was raised old school, so sometimes I'm a little harsh with my students. Mm-hmm. But
why did you at the beginning, just thinking back when you first started, why did you stay? Why did
I stay? Well, I enjoyed it, and like it spoke to a lot of aspects. When I was looking, the instigator was, I didn't have anything in my life, nothing productive really. I had work, I made good money, I had work buddies that I'd go out and drink with all weekend, and then I'd go back to work. So when I found jiu-jitsu, it was something healthy, got me out of the house, gave me something to do, and then I was looking to lose weight, and so I had started losing weight, and then I started competing and having victories there, and then it started like uplifting my spirit, and then I was like, oh man, how do I get rid of work? Well, maybe one day I can have my own gym, and I can do this as a job too. And so I just started on the path, and as I kept walking, new opportunities kept presenting themselves, started having more ideas and more thoughts of things that I wanted to work towards, and as I accomplished one, I moved on, found something else that I wanted to work on, and it just spoke to so many different aspects of what I was looking for, what I wanted to do. It was hard, though. A lot of butt whoopings. But once you start getting good at it, you get to see the other side of it, then it becomes fun.
Yeah.
Then it becomes fun, like a chess game. I like challenges. I like puzzles. I like that stuff. Yeah.
You live in Los Lunas?
Yep, just south of Albuquerque, about 20 minutes. Have a gym down there. Just started my own club. I've been doing Gracie Baja for 6 years with my own school, but I was with them for 18 years, something like that, So now it's time for me to start building, my own.
Why did you?
Legacy.
Why did you get out? What happened?
We lost the building that I had, and they have their fees, and the only place I got was 800 square foot building in Los Lunas, virtually no mat space, and then I got another spot that's even further south, has a little bit of space, but I couldn't see paying the franchise fees and not have enough space to really make it worth it financially. And I've been down there for a while, and I train with the team, but you get to that point where it's time to start thinking about the future.
Did you feel like what could have been maybe like the support? Do you feel like you got enough support?
I mean, I trained with the team, and so I always had a good, solid team to help me whenever I was getting ready for stuff, when I was looking, because I love competing. I love being good at jiu-jitsu, and there's only so much you can do with lower belts in a small town until you make them something, And so I always had that kind of support. But, you know, the Albuquerque crew is their own business, their own thing. So they focus on their own thing, and I'm out here doing my own thing. So if I'm out here doing my own thing, well, you know, I'll
Doesn't matter,
self-promote.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and now, now I'm not restricted in territory. So if I start growing, because I moved to a smaller market to get out of their way, you know, to not be considered competition, you know. 20 minutes, half an hour away from any one of your schools. Never.
Yeah, it's kind of tough though, right? With not that many people in the town.
Right.
I mean, Santa Fe had like 60,000 people at the time. I know it's grown since, but it's tough market, right? And that Las Lunas is even less.
Yeah, there's like 14,000 people.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm
So
a world-class jiu-jitsu player. And financially, I'd be in a different place if I was in a major metropolis. If I was in a city like Albuquerque, you know, financially, I could do way better. You know, the franchise just kind of ties your hands a little bit. Everybody's got their own territory. You don't want to be stepping on toes. Their politics and da-da-da-da-da. It's like too many headaches, you know. So
It's tough. New Mexico's tough.
Yeah, right now, you know, I'm just focusing on the small things I have. I've gone back to telecommunications this year. I started working on getting my journeyman's, not so that I could do the work, but I got a lot of skills running business for, you know, I've been running my own school since 2012. So 12 years. So now I'd like to take on some apprentices and help train other people to do the work, and I can find the contracts, and my passion won't be tied to my paycheck. There's just been too many headaches running a school for 12 years. There's so many like obstacles. Like I'm pretty vested emotionally in what I do at the academy because I love it so much.
Yeah.
So whenever
that's good and it's bad, right?
Yeah. Whenever there's drama or turmoil, it like hurts, you know. So
you give your heart and your soul. You give everything of yourself for the people to get good and be good. And a lot of people don't appreciate it, right?
They don't recognize it.
Most people don't appreciate really.
So, you know, if I could have like a school with just the handful of guys that, you know, are just like you, that love it as much as you do, that put in the time, that put in the effort, you know, having those people that are like you around, and you don't have to make that your paycheck, you know, and you don't have to keep everybody around. You don't want to be around here, go away.
Yeah.
You don't want to put in the work, you don't want to put in the effort, go away, you know. So diversification, as my friend Steve says, that's where we're headed.
Yeah, because I mean, you put that same effort into whatever you do, you're going to be super successful. You're going to be you're going to excel at whatever you do. But yeah, it's tough. New Mexico's tough. The income, right? A lot of people don't have like a lot of money, and then there's just so much competition, and it's the amount of people, right? It's tough. And then also, like, man, not everybody should have a school. Like, and you don't really need that, you know. And I've learned that when I was younger, I used to think everybody should have a school. But as I've gotten older, like, you shouldn't, and you'll be much happier. Or work with somebody, you know, or just, you know, you do it because you love it, and it makes you happy, right? But as a business, like maybe when I was younger, you know, right, there wasn't that much competition. It's a different time now, that too, with UFC being a mainstream sport, right? People like know about it now. But still, I think that's the right way. I want everybody to grow and be their best, right? But I've learned with that is like not everybody should do that, you know, as the thing.
Yeah, the business can be a little
stressful. Because for me, for example, like I want everybody to train. I would, you know, do for free, right? And that's a big issue. Luckily, I have some really great people around me that support me and be like, no, you can't let everybody train for free. No, you have to charge this. And I'm like, all right, you know. And I listen.
That's good.
Yeah, and that's the reason why, you know, we have like a place like this.
Right. You put together a good team. You know, the people that can
they have my back.
Help you with your shortcomings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I'm the same way. But I'm learning, you know, the more people that you you don't make them work for it, you know, they don't put the money where their mouth is, or they don't vest in the effort, they don't value it. So it's easy for them to just walk all over you because they don't value it. The people that work for it, that make it happen. Like when I first started, Sarah told me how much it was going to be. I was like, oh man, what? How can we make this happen for less? By the end of the year, I'd already paid like $4 or $5 grand. I don't know how much, so I could train for years. Yeah. Because you know, I had to find a way to make it happen and not be in a position where I wasn't going to be able to afford it. So I made it happen. But because of that, you know, it meant more to me. Whereas, Some people,
You're
they get
committed.
the handout.
Yeah.
It's so easy for them to just walk away. You know, the harder I work to prepare for a tournament, the harder it is for me to tap when I'm caught in something. Where if I wasn't prepared, if I didn't train hard, if I didn't, you know, care as much about it, and be like, oh, well, maybe I don't want my elbow to be sore tomorrow. Maybe I'll tap. I don't think I've ever thought that way, but I know that the harder I work, the more fire I have to not quit when it comes time. So same way with putting your effort and putting your money in place, you know.
Yeah.
Can't just give it away. I want everybody to train. I came from Espanola. We had nothing, just pretty much poverty, you know. And so I'm out here in these small communities trying to bring jiu-jitsu to the masses, but, you know, there's a lot of people that just don't have the same values, the same character that I do, you know, and they'll walk
Where does
all
that
over you.
character come from?
Grandma. And, like, I think about it, you know, my grandmother raised me a certain way, and as I got older, I started making a little bit of money. I start living in society. It's very easy to want to like party and just live the fast life and not care about other people. And if it wasn't for the values and the things that she taught me as right, I wouldn't have any voice in my head telling me, well, maybe this is the wrong path. You know, maybe you shouldn't do this, you know. Just because I was given that when I came up, that's kind of like my guiding light. I veer off every once in a while, you know. It's very awesome. It's very easy to chase dopamine, and it's very easy to get in like sad states, you know, and start handling those in a wrong way. But you know, I still have that voice in my head that kind of pulls me back. I've learned how to manipulate myself, you know. I find little ways to convince myself to do the right thing, and the measure just comes from her, you know. So. Definitely blessed to have her. That's where that came from. I don't know.
You're a very emotional person.
So emotional. This weight cut, oh man. it's like an army on a battlefield. The more you stretch out your army, the easier it is for the enemy to break through. You know, and so I think that's part of what makes me good at jiu-jitsu too, because I have all of that emotion behind what I do, so it's very hard for me to just give up, you know.
Yeah, it's one of your superpowers. You've always been like that. Ever since I've known you, he's a white belt.
Wesley King, he gave me a horrible nickname. My nickname was Taminator, but he gave me Tammy Tears. As we'd get closer to tournaments, they'd come a lot more. You know, cutting weight, training hard, and it's harder to keep track of my emotions and keep myself stable. But, you know, it's part of it, you know, the highs, the lows, the happy, the sad. So you can't have one without the other. So I just started thinking about, you know, I don't have grandma anymore. And this is what comes, you know, so.
You know, you talked about we're talking about emotions. Like, how do you use your emotions to excel, to win tournaments, to do good? What do you think? Give me an example.
So I have like,
it's a lot of years of using your emotions to excel.
Yeah.
You got to tap into those things, right?
I have like a healthy way that I tap into them and an unhealthy way that I tap into them. So when I started, you know, here I am training with all these top level black belts, and I'm just this pudgy kid. So the way I would do it is like, I'm not gonna quit. I'm not gonna quit. And whenever I'd find myself on the brink of tapping or just exhausted, I'd yell at myself, "You fucking quitter," in my own head, you know. And so there's that, you know. Or sometimes when I'm in the middle of a firefight, like a scramble, you know, and it's like somebody's trying to keep the position and I'm trying to come up for the 2 or something like that. It's like, it's my points. You can't have them. They're mine. And like, these are conversations that I'm having in my head while I'm in the middle of it, you know. I'm trying to coach myself from within, you know, finding something that means something to me. And I've never really been like, oh, I hate you, you're not getting. No, I lie. I've had that once or twice. I've had that one. And it's not that I hate my partner. It's just that, like, they were doing so good against me that it's like, fuck you. I hate you.
Yeah.
It's my position.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all just internal self-coaching. My team, they know when I'm trying really hard and when I'm putting everything into it. If they hear me, like, you know how in karate you have the ki?
Yeah. I remember that.
I could pull from that.
Started doing that at white belt.
And I got the sweep because I yelled at myself. I don't know. It came from deep in my belly. So, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of, they overlook me, you know, they don't expect things from me kind of thing, you know. I have that in me. Like, I was literally in the sauna, like, battling that little.
I was going to ask you that. When you're in those moments of cutting weight and suffering, you got to think about certain things, right, to get you to that.
To get through that hard time, you know. So I just started having conversations and that little demon came out. It's like, they don't believe in you and nobody thinks you can do it. And then, like, I got to be in there, you know, like, picking myself up. It's like, you know, I wouldn't have this idea in my head if God didn't put it there, and God's me and I believe in me and that's all I need and God's there. And and so these are those little conversations that I have back and forth in my own head, and you could choose which ones you want to listen to. And if you want to let, you know, all of the horrible things that you can say to yourself, if you want to let them run wild in your head, they're going to be with control. But, you know, it's up to you to stay up. It's up to you to get yourself out of those places, you know? I know it's all like stuff that doesn't really matter. Like, in the overall scheme of things, you think about, like, the people living in all these war-torn cities and all of the atrocities that are happening throughout the world, and what I do, you know, it doesn't necessarily matter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I cry and I feel feel all these emotions for what I'm doing, and I go through all these experiences, but ultimately I can hang my hat on that. Like, you know, you wake up every day, you're healthy, you know, you have a place to live, you have a way to put food on your table, you're not having to be fearful for your life, you live a good life. Everything else doesn't matter, you know. So if you could boil it down to something very simple for you, then even if you're down in the dumps and struggling, you can, like, grab onto that, you know. It's all just manipulation. How are you manipulating yourself to design the life that you want?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
What are some things you would have done, maybe, you know, you're older, a lot of all these years, you know, have gone by. What are some things that you feel like maybe you could have done better? I don't like the word regret. Just what are some things that you think you could have done better, or you could have advice you would have given your young yourself?
Oh man, don't retire so soon. I stepped away. You know, I said, "Oh, I'm gonna retire. I'm gonna start a gym. I'm gonna, you know, maybe I'll try some other path." I was doing really good when I got my black belt. If I would have, because I have like this wandering spirit. You know, you get comfortable and it becomes unsettling. For some reason, it's a little bit less now that I'm older, but, you know, I feel like I need change. Like, when I found jiu-jitsu, it was because I needed something different. I couldn't have the same thing over and over and over and over again, you know? And so sometimes I just start from scratch. It's okay. Just start again, new path. So I was kind of unsettled when I got my black belt, started the new school, and if I would have just kind of stayed, you know, in that incubator that was kind of the academy where I was at and stuff, who knows, you know, maybe I could have done more in the beginning years of my black belt. But other than that, I mean, it's all been part of the path. I've lived a lot of life experience, so now I have all these young teens that are training with me. I have two that they're the Soda Boys, if you ever hear about them in the future. But they're teenagers that came to me, and the boy comes, there's this club at one of the charter schools in Los Lunas, and he's like, I want to sign up. I'm like, okay, why do you want to sign up? He's like, I want to beat my jiu-jitsu coach. And he's a brown belt teaching over at the charter school. I was like,
okay.
I like you. And so him and 2 or 3 or 4 of the other kids came. 3 of them stuck around. And so they're like 16. By the end of the first season, I have one of the 16-year-olds running my gym. and they're training hard, and I want to show them what it is to compete. I don't want to tell them what it is to compete. So I got fired up, a couple seasons ago, and started getting back to it, and really enjoying, being on the competition scene again and training for it. And, it's good for my life. I live very healthy. I make better choices when I'm competing. So having them on the team really inspired me to get back to like that competition state. And now they're trying to go to college and figure out what they're doing with their life. And I think that every decision that I made along the path, I don't really regret any of it because it's given me the opportunity to say, hey, well, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. If I could suggest anything, this or whatever, I have a lot of looks. So I have a lot of ways to direct them or maybe help them on their path. Who knows what they'll choose? I give my students advice, and then I'll be like, but I own nothing, so take it with a grain of salt. But I have a lot of, experience, a lot of life, things that are going to keep me entertained when I'm 100 and can't walk anymore. Invested in myself.
A lot of memories.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
That's it. So, yeah, maybe that's the only thing I would change. Maybe spent a little more time there when I was younger and getting my black belt. Tried to have some
Not
more
rushing it.
bigger fight. Yeah, getting impatient, Oh, it's time for the next step. It's time for the next step. It doesn't always have to be a next step. Just enjoy what's happening right now. So, I don't know. I think that comes with youth. I had a lot of that. I don't have as much of it now that I'm older. I think that's a youth thing. I'm a lot more settled. I was even telling the Jackson's coach, I was like, I don't know. I think I'm done, like, messing around during the off season. We'll see if I can get back to that once. I used to compete at, like, 160 or something like that, you know? And it's like, I don't know, maybe send me to Tokyo or something.
280 to 160. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's that's almost double the weight.
That's like a whole person.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, all jiu-jitsu. I mean, a little running after practice, but all jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, you're a 100% jiu-jitsu person, athlete, competitor, example for everybody, girls and boys.
Yeah, I mean, if I could do it. I don't know. I speak down on my physical prowess, but I don't know. I think my mentality, my intelligence, it's not like book smarts or whatever. It's just the way I look at things helps me in jiu-jitsu a lot. I can retain techniques pretty well, and if I can't, I work on figuring them out, so that they make sense in my head. So I think that's part of what makes me good at jiu-jitsu. It's because I like the games, I like the challenges, I like the puzzles. So don't have to be physically a machine to be able to win at jiu-jitsu. You can be good and just have the brains,
Yeah. What's kept you in jiu-jitsu all these years?
I think the novelty of it, like, even though I get good at jiu-jitsu, there's always somebody else to go against. And every person brings their own style to it, their own way of moving, their own way of doing jiu-jitsu. So it's like never the same role twice kind of thing. I mean, that's not 100% true, but there is potential for novelty for the rest of my life based upon all the new people that come through the door. I might be the same, but I'm facing different competitors throughout the course of my life. So I enjoy the challenge. I like the camaraderie of it too.
Camaraderie, yeah. The relationships.
Yeah. Like I have brothers and sisters, but they were all younger than me. And so I never grew up with them and never got to experience them. And so I had a couple of friends on the schoolyard, but that was it. You go to school, you go back home. And so I didn't have all these social experiences with people when I was growing up. So here I am in the work world, and all I'm doing there is working and drinking. And then I find jiu-jitsu, and so that's a little bit healthier lifestyle. And so, the friendships that you make there are a little bit different. And I like the back and forth, especially with the people that are like me, that like competing, that like training hard, that like to win. I have these little scenarios that I'm playing with. Like one of my purple belts, he's super good. Like I'd love to see him commit to jiu-jitsu, but he won't. He's graduating from college this year. He's trained with me since day one, kind of thing. And his dad's my first professor. I promoted my first black belt a couple seasons ago, and he's gotten a job. He just got a girlfriend, so now the training's gone down. But he's so good. He runs everybody at the academy. Like there's just about nobody that touches him. And so he was going to Worlds last year, and so it's like during our last practice, it was the Worlds, and he like stalled me out in the finals match, and I was like, I'm coming for you next year, purple belt. This was when he was still a blue belt, you know, or like I was cutting carbs for this last tournament for my weigh-ins, you know. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been so like fatigued, and this other black belt that I have at my academy, we're going back and forth, and usually I handle him okay, and I haven't been able to sweep him for the last 2 weeks. And then Tuesday was my last practice, and I was going to have carbs this week. And he's like, did you carb load today? I was like, I had 7 grams of sugar in my coffee. I'm coming for you. And I got the sweep at the end. You know, it's nonsense, but it's the small things. That's the stuff that really, you know, it's the positive things that add value to my life, just that back and forth, you know. I mean, you get to be there for people in good times and hard times and be part of their lives. I'm getting
connected,
being part of some kind of community. I went to one of the kids. He's been with me since he was like 4 or 5. His brother was 4, you know, and now he's making his confirmation. And I went to go to his confirmation, and all of his little buddies were jiu-jitsu people, or all the jiu-jitsu kids. Like that. He wouldn't have had all of that if it wasn't that I moved down there and started that gym, and he started training with me. Now he has a whole world of good friends in this small town that aren't, you know, that aren't going to be connected through partying at school or whatever. You know, they're going to be enjoying life through jiu-jitsu together. So
doing healthy things, healthy choices.
Yeah, that's my legacy. That's the stuff that keeps me going back.
Yeah, love it. That's it. That's what it's about, right? You have a We Defy Foundation shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Have you helped, done some things with?
Yeah, I started working or helping with the organization about a year and a half ago or something like that. I saw Brian Marvin. He was training with us out in Albuquerque. He's one of the guys that started it, so that's how I knew about it. And you know, I think
he's one of the guys who started it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they literally started the organization like just teaching seminars all across the country and donating all the funds to all of these disabled veterans to get them jiu-jitsu. So that's the mission, you know, is providing therapy to disabled veterans through jiu-jitsu. So it's fundraising efforts to generate funds so that disabled vets can go and train at certified centers, jiu-jitsu centers, and find the peace that I found, you know.
I should reach out to Brian.
He's doing amazing out there in Houston, you know. Renzo Gracie everywhere. But yeah, so that's how I knew about the organization, and then I was like getting back into the tournament scene. So I was like, I could be an ambassador, you know, wear their stuff, talk about the thing, and then ended up, you know, being asked to help in New Mexico because they lost the New Mexico guy or whatever, you know, to help grow the organization in New Mexico. So that's my chore, not my chore, but you know, that's what I've taken on, is to grow We Defy in New Mexico now. And then I signed up my gym to be a We Defy training center, and I have my first athlete. So we've got one of the vets there, you know, training at the academy. I've done my first seminar. I want to do the same thing that Brian did. You know, he was doing it throughout the country. I'd like to do it throughout New Mexico. You know, hey, let's do a fundraiser. I'll come down. I'll teach at your school. We'll donate the funds to We Defy. Let's see if we can get you set up as a We Defy training center. That way we can build the network. Because, I mean, when I have like all these kids, you know, that I'm talking about, these 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds. Not all of them are talking about college. Some of them are going off and they're enlisting, and you know, not all of them are going to come back, you know. And so if they come back home, I would like to be able to have something for them, you know. That way we can try and help get them reintegrated and potentially not have like a lost soul because we don't have a way to give them what they're going to be missing. I understand how important like community is and being part of the military environment, you know, and then you come back home, you can't be with your friends, you can't be with this close unit, and now you can't do the things that you could before or whatever, you know. So it's a way to just kind of prepare for the future too, you know. At least that's the thought, there in New Mexico, but there's all kinds of people that could use it, that could benefit from it. So I think it's a good cause, and I've started thinking more about like the future. Once I got through the check, I got my black belt, check, I got the world title, check, I got the business. What's next, you know? So I kind of got through that 10-year plan, and now I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. You know, what does the next 20 years look like? Am I gonna be doing the same thing over
What do
and
you
over
think?
again? I don't know. I'm still on the like, I gotta make money. You know, all the other years have been like just
You have to be involved with jiu-jitsu because it makes you happy.
yeah, yeah. So definitely that's not going anywhere, but I want to make it so that it's not such a headache, you know. I want to make it so that I enjoy it, and I know how. It isn't what I made it. When I had this big old team with 100 plus students or whatever, it's a lot of headaches, a lot of dealing with a lot of people, and I'm emotional about people's things, you know. So it's a lot of
You care.
yeah, it's a lot of mental stress, emotional stress, and so you know, finding other ways to plan for the future, you know. So that's a huge part of the things that I'm working towards, but also, you know, enjoying my life. You know, I made so many good people I've met through jiu-jitsu, you know, and being able to get away and see them and go visit with them, and like, you know, coming to this tournament. I got to come and visit with you. I haven't seen you in forever. I missed you the last Christmas that you went to the school. I remember, you know, the last time I came out here, we went, we ate, we talked. It's always nice, and it feels good to, you know, just
Stay connected.
yeah, just talking to people and being part of people's lives. And if they're good people and you like them, you know, spending that time with them and creating those moments. So the goal is whenever I have a friend or somebody they care about and they're doing something, it looks cool, and I want to do it. Well, I want to be able to go do it, you know? So I'm not.
Stay free, stay mobile.
Yeah, not connected, you know, but obviously it takes work to be able to do that. So that's the goal. Just be there for the people that need me, you know? Like I have a friend, she's like, oh, we're going to go to camp and I need somebody to feed my animals. Oh, well, I guess I'm sitting and feeding animals for the next week. Why? Because I can. You know, I like that freedom. Like, that was one of the things when I started the gym. My grandmother was on her last years, and I mean, it was great to be able to take care of her and help her through those last days, you know. And if I had a 9 to 5, it wasn't going to work. If I had a boss over me telling me, hey, you got to be here, you got to be there, you got to be that, this and that, it wasn't going to work, you know. So I might not have the financial freedom that I want now, but I had what I needed in that moment, you know. It was there for the people that I wanted to be there for. So just trying to maintain that, you know. If I have somebody that I want to be there for,
Yeah.
I want to have the freedom to be there for them, you know, whether it be just support or a good time.
Tammy, you have one of the biggest hearts of anybody I've ever met. You've applied that besides all the competitions and winning and tournaments and gold medals and whatever medals, you know. Man, you have one of the biggest hearts. You got me emotional just talking to you about things because I feel it, and I feel the power. It's real, and I think you're one of jiu-jitsu's biggest treasures, underrated biggest treasures. I've been around for I've been around for a long time, and man, really, how far you've come. And you talk about 280 pounds. I mean, all your opponents are like sometimes like I feel like like twice your height.
Yeah, sometimes.
And you're like, how does that even make sense? You go out there and you give it your all and you fight like a lion. And man, it's like unbelievable what you've done and still do.
I gotta
going to the USA grappling thing tomorrow. You're still out there, and you shared some of your stories. You're all about just helping people. So thank you for being that light, being that person. I'm so, like I keep saying it, but I'm so proud of you. I'm really so proud to have been a small part in your journey and to stay connected with you.
Well, that means a lot. I look up to you, you know. So it's great to have, you know, people that you care about you back. I got to teach a seminar over at Gracie Baja Santa Fe, and Professor Pless came. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. I'm so happy right now. And
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
watch out for a couple seminars. Yeah, Mike Chang told me that you went to Hollywood one time, taught a seminar out there
Yeah.
when we had the Hollywood school, and then also Encino, I think, back in the day too.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I know. I remember Mark. Mark helped me out with my visa for China for ADCC.
Right,
Because
right.
I had to get that turned in here. And it's like, oh, I know Mark. He can help me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the jiu-jitsu community,
Yeah.
man. This world, man. If we all just helped each other, you know, if we relied on each other, we wouldn't all be so stressed all the time. Help build each other up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thank you, Tammy. Tammy Griego, thank you. How can people find you?
I'm on Instagram, personally.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm starting the new brand. It's The Gentle Art.
Mm.
So they can find me there.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, just look for me at some jiu-jitsu school somewhere. I'm on the mats all the time. Out in Los Lunas. The new school, The Gentle Art. I'm training at Jackson Wink now,
Mm-hmm,
too.
mm-hmm.
Just a little shout out to them. They
Yeah.
kind of took me in, you know. And who knows what's going to come of that little partnership there. If anybody wants to come and train out with me in New Mexico, in Albuquerque, that door's open. You know, they have a setup there. You can live there, fight there kind of thing, too. So that's a huge opportunity. I got the We Defy Foundation that I'm helping out. So they can find me there, working on those things, working on fundraising for them. And, yeah, competing. USA Grappling, that's where it's at this season. We'll see what happens next year. I don't know.
That's it.
Cool.
Love you, Tammy.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.